Hey, this is Sarah, and I'm going to very quickly answer one of the questions that I've gotten in response for my Achromatopsia video, and I think I'm going to make this a bit of a series. So, for those of you that don't know, maybe you haven't been watching my channel, one of the first videos that I posted was about achromatopsia, which is the eye condition that I suffer from, which is why I'm sat here in the dark, probably to you, and the lighting is a little bit wonky because we're having a nor'easter. I'm gonna be honest with you. It's not looking good out there. It's not perfect storm like, but you know. So achromatopsia specifically is a the kind that I have, because specifically and literally it is to be achromatic and so single color, so grayscale, everything's grayscale, because I'm in fact completely colorblind. I also have low vision, which is expressed via 20/400. So if you understand what that is about, then yeah. And for reference, oh God, I don't even know the number. No, I know that, okay, this is bad. I only know half of the number from my glasses prescription, which was, was it negative 1.9 D? Was it? On my bifocal? Yeah, I think so. I don't know, I just got new glasses. So one of the things that I was asked was what do I do? What are my sort of everyday adaptations? A few things I can explain. So one of the things that I have is this dome magnifier, which I have had for years. You can get a couple of different versions of this. You can, of course, get the classic magnifying glass. I like this because then it's already perfectly far enough away from the glass. Not the glass, the surface. So like when you want to see something, you just put it on the surface. It is sitting at the perfect height. You don't have to mess with it. Also, if you hold it like this, it just looks like a crystal ball from my angle. I don't know. This thing has been through the wars. Absolutely. It's got scratches. There's like a crack. I'm pretty sure there's some crap on here. Is that really a scratch? Yeah, I think that's a scratch. Kind of a crack. Realistically, if I was smart, I would probably... Well, I mean, it's still good. I remember to clean it about once every 2 years. I'm bad. I'm also that girl that goes around with schmutz on her glasses. So yeah, that's one of them that I use on a quite regular basis. Now, on the other side of the spectrum, I have a monocular here. I have had a couple of these over the years. If you're not familiar, they often come with this little leather case. It's on neck strap. I also have a small pair of binoculars, just like random like bird watching ones that my dad gave me ages ago. They're tiny. And it just looks like this. And just take that out of there. And so you have the sort of rubbery bit. You can pop back if you need to. I don't know if you would. I don't know. I always prefer to use it without. I don't know why. The reason why this is an issue is because for me, with the way that my eyes work with the nystagmus, and also because when you're magnifying something, you're also causing the light to, I don't know. The light seems to magnify a bit. Oh, and also it can do the distance adjustment. It's got a pretty fair adjustment on it, I think. Yeah. Yeah, no, it can literally... It kept going. I was like, wait, is it broken? No, it's not broken. But it can, it's got a really good focus range on it. To be perfectly honest, I stopped using this back in junior high And, you know, if you're a parent, you're probably going to be like, this is a stupid reason to stop using something that helps you if you're watching this video. So I tried to use this in a math class and immediately had a bunch of people calling me a pirate. And that followed me around for years. So, yeah. Basically took this out like once. And, yeah. You know, some people are going to be like, well, you just don't respond to that. Some kids are merciless. I had really merciless bullies in junior high, just like a horde of them. They were very horrible people. One of them smartened up, and we went to high school together, and he turned out to be quite a decent guy. But yeah, it was a school where people could get away with that kind of crap. I should say, especially towards people with disabilities, which is a term that it's a whole phrase that I don't enjoy, because realistically, we're all, oh God, I'm gonna go really PC. Realistically, we're all people. And personally, being somebody who was born with, you know, a visual issue, and, you know, it's not something that happened to me, and I've just had to get on with a lot of it. So there's a lot of adaptations that I personally haven't found helpful. Along with the achromatopsia and the low vision, the achromatopsia comes along with being photophobic. So one of the things I will say to any parents who are thinking about adaptations for the classroom is that if your school does not already have whiteboards, then I would say to you, don't let the school use your child as an excuse to have a whiteboard unless you have a chance for them to really try it out in an environment where they're not being pressured. I definitely felt pressured to say that yes, I found it helpful, and in certain circumstances, I did find it helpful. The problem with whiteboards is that a lot of teachers really love the ability to quickly color code all of the bullet points. The benefit of a whiteboard is that you can very easily create a high contrast. But if you have a child with the low vision, and you're using, for instance, thin line dry erase markers in colors that aren't a high contrast to the whiteboard, then it basically doesn't even matter, and you're just encouraging them to stare at a wall of white, which, you know, if you have the photophobia, and especially because pretty much every school still has the fluorescent lighting, it is just bad on bad on bad. Chalkboards can be totally fine. Ultimately, it's going to be difficult depending on the vision that you or that individual has, whether or not any of that's going to be super effective and helpful. Yeah, sorry, it's not really an answer. It is a case-by-case basis. I used to sit in the front of the class. I used to sit 2 feet, not 2 feet, it was like 4 feet away from the board. And it could be fine, but some days the teacher would choose to write in a particular color of chalk that I didn't find as helpful, and would choose to write smaller, and that wouldn't be helpful. It totally depends. The biggest thing, and I would say the way that I survived, you know, school all the way through to university, was the fact that I was an avid note taker, and that's just what I had to do. I'm a transcriptionist now, and like it's old hat to me, you know, taking the words out of somebody's mouth and putting them on paper. Like that's nothing to me. That's exactly, like, I've been doing that for years. So yeah, I will also show you, I will show you my glasses now. They're filthy. They are filthy. These are not tinted. I do have the scratch proof because I am particularly prone to scratching my glasses. I don't bother with the anti-glare coating. I had it once. I found it was almost completely useless. It's generally kind of bullshit. I'm sorry, it is. When people are like, oh, glare, 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 I'm like, no. Because the biggest thing is, it doesn't even apply anymore. With CRT monitors, it was an issue, yes, but that's not a thing anymore. And also, as I'm a grown-up now, I can be in complete control of my lighting environment. So currently, there's no way that I can show you this without probably disrupting all of my things. Maybe I can. Oh, I can. Okay. So this is one of my lamps. It's from IKEA. I love it. I can't pull it any farther. It's plugged in. That'll be a mess. I could move the camera. I'm not going to, because then you'd be able to see the disaster that is my room. I work from home. When I have worked in an office environment where you know, there was fluorescent lighting, then my other adaptation was Advil. Now, a lot of people, and even a friend of mine who is, she does like career counseling and stuff, occupational therapy, that's what I wanted to say that this is not an acceptable method of dealing with it, and that it shouldn't be acceptable, that I'm uncomfortable, blah, blah, blah. And my argument is that, I mean, what are you going to do? You're a photophobic person. You've got to go outside sometime. You can't just hide in your house. Okay, you can, but you shouldn't. And therefore, you know, the biggest thing is just figure out what painkillers are effective for you. For me, it tends to be Advil. I don't know why. Probably just because of the fact that, I don't know. Maybe it's the anti-inflammatory aspect. I prefer Advil. Some people prefer Motrin. Some people are Tylenol people. Some people are aspirin people. Aspirin works well. You know, I'm not going to knock it. But that would pretty much be my thing that I would say to you. Because half the time, the headaches, you know, it's just strain. It's just eye strain. It's just eye strain presenting itself in a fun, fabulous new way. And, you know, that's hard for parents. I know it was probably hard for my mom. When I was a kid, I used to just have the dark glasses, and that is what I would wear everywhere. It was hard to deal with, the bullying. It wasn't fun because it makes you stick out. Of course, I grew up in the 80s where people weren't just constantly wearing sunglasses like they are now. It wasn't usual to see. Kids, especially, it wasn't that usual to see kids wearing sunglasses. They did have them, but it's not like now. So yeah. I mean, these particular lenses, these are new. I don't have a tint on these. These are my first pair that have absolutely no tint. I've been easing it back over the past 15 years. I started out with a mid-gray tone tint the first time. I don't have those as an example. I'm sorry. They are buried currently in all of my things. I wish I did. I really wish I did to show you. But I can, however, show you my current sunglasses. And so what I would say to you is go and find yourself... Oh, nope. That's some hand warmers I'm getting. Oh, there we go. Find yourself a good company to deal with. I recently had to have a huge shit-fit fight just to get the tint as dark as I wanted. These are dark. Dark, dark, dark. They're not as dark as I wanted or as dark as I paid for, but they're pretty dark. Company actually told me that they could not get it to absorb the tint based on, what was it? Because my prescription is so high, it wouldn't absorb any more of the tint. It sounded like complete bullshit. I'm pretty sure it was. But yeah, so yeah, I mean, realistically, the tint's gonna fade over time anyway, so just be aware. But yeah, get a really good manufacturer if you can. I mean, once you have to throw tint on lenses, they get more expensive. Buying cheap glasses from places, we're not getting good advice on frames is a bit killer. When I was in university, I had this really, really cute pair. I was really excited to have a more delicate frame, and it was really great. And I even specifically asked the girl, like, is this going to be, you know, robust enough for everyday wear? And she was like, totally, yeah. And then a couple months later, I was at a friend's place, and if you're a glasses wearer, you of course know eventually somebody in your life will go, take off your glasses. I want to see what you look like without them. Always happens, especially if you've had a drink. And I did, and I took my glasses off, and then the arm just snapped off. I could get away with it with my indoor glasses. I can get away with not wearing my glasses. When your vision is so low, they just can only do so much. But with my sunglasses, I can't fool around. And it was getting to the point where my old lenses, you know what, I've got my old lens. I put off replacing them for a while, and this isn't going to seem like a really significant thing to you. I don't know how well you're going to be able to tell. These glasses are nowhere near as dark. The tint has significantly faded over the years, and it was getting to the point where it had faded so much where it was becoming very uncomfortable. The glasses themselves, my frames are kind of, so maybe rust, not gonna lie, and crap on them. Oh, any rust? Yeah, it's a little bit of, there's stuff on there. Probably shouldn't be. It's just, it's a thing. So the problem is, I already had to send them back once to get remade. It was an ordeal. I'm not even going to discuss it because I'm going to put in a formal complaint with the company because the girl was so friggin' ignorant when I went to get my glasses and they were wrong. She was so ignorant that, yeah, it was disgusting. It was absolutely disgusting. And I didn't want to deal with it anymore. Just didn't want to deal with it anymore. But the thing is, most people think of tinted glasses, you know, sunglasses, prescription sunglasses, that's the thing I wanted to say, as a vanity thing, you know, and stuff. But they don't really consider that for a certain part of the population it is really necessary. I did leave my house earlier today with just these glasses on. That happened today because we are having some serious weather. There is no sun penetration. Like, it's just not happening. And that's great. I like that. But on a sunny day, I can't go out without without my sunglasses. Like it's not an option. And it was getting to the point where there were a lot of sunny days over the summer where I was quite sun blinded. But you don't want to just stay inside. And so I knew that I had to make that switch this year. I knew that I really needed to look at new glasses. And I was trying to ignore it. And I kept trying to ignore it. And I just had to do it. Now, the depth of tint is entirely up to the individual. Because ultimately, they know how much of an adaptation they need. But you should also confirm with your optometrist or whoever is making the glasses for you, are you going to be actually able to and willing to and everything supply me with the tint that I'm requesting in the way that I'm requesting it? Are you able to do custom tints? I once was able, and they're not in the right prescription for me now, and I'm so sad about it because they stayed dark for ages, but my prescription changed, and that's the other thing. I've also upped my prescription over the years to make it a bit stronger. Not that I've had any sort of macular degeneration. My eyes physically have not changed that much. They've just always been the same level of shitty. But over the years, I have definitely upped the level of compensation. Just a little bit usually each time, which is nice. So that's something. If you can find a place that will do custom tinting, that is amazing. And you want to stick with them because there are so few labs still that will do that. And if you can find that, that's amazing. And the best, oh my God, the best what I ever had was, it was a mix of the brown and the darkest brown and the darkest black, not black, a gray tint. It was a dark gray tint. It was basically black. They were basically black. The lenses were basically black, and they were the best. They were the most comfortable for my eyes of all the glasses I have ever owned. They were phenomenal. But it's also true that certain places, certain recommendations, I've certainly seen certain recommendations for the red tint over the years. I wore the red tint for years. I do grays. I've done brown. Brown pretty much just looked like whatever. Looking back on it now, the red tint definitely did affect what things looked like. It did also attract more attention because it's obvious, generally though, I prefer the grays and even the brown tints because they don't affect the colors of objects, and even though I can only appreciate the gray values, I definitely find that, it's weird. It's weird when you put on your glasses and things look fairly significantly different. So that's kind of what happens when you put the red ones on. Everything does look different, and it doesn't matter that people will say like, "Oh, how do you know? You don't know what red looks like." Well, I do know what red looks like to me. And now everything kind of looks like that, and it's weird. And the thing is that although I cannot 100% of the time recognize certain colors, I can't 100% of the time recognize what a color is. A lot of the time with a red or an orange or a really bright pink, like I can appreciate the brightness of that color. Any of those three I can mix up. So a bright pink and a bright red and a bright orange will often look quite similar to me. But then I don't want everything to make, you know what I mean? I don't think I'm explaining it very well, but it's nice when I can recognize that that is a bright color and it's not because of the glasses that I'm wearing, it's because it's actually a bright color, and this probably seems really weird, but basically, um, you know, the gray tints are really good. I think that's what I'm trying to say. They don't mess with the color spectrum. Because realistically, it's not that I don't have any cones whatsoever. I probably have some, and they probably are able to give me a tiny little bit of recognition. Probably. Anyway, those are some ideas. Some other things that are worth mentioning. Smartphones are really great as sort of like an extension of vision. I often use my phone to take pictures or things like that of stuff to let me see it closer. I also had contact from a guy in the States not long ago who told me about an app called Color ID. I don't always find it incredibly helpful because if you're not in
Black.
brightness,
Black.
as you can see, it speaks. But if it's not bright,
Black.
the thing that you're looking at, it's just registering black.
Brownish black.
Yeah, the lighting isn't great in this room
Dark
right now.
grayish olive green.
So that would be
Black.
the only problem. In low light, it just doesn't get it. Yeah. But still, he recommended it because it can be helpful when you're out in stores, which of course have standard lighting, unless you're in, like, I don't know. There are certain stores that are a bit low lighting, but you know, like, generally that would be quite helpful. So that app is called Color ID, and it is free on the Android shop. Google Play. It didn't seem to be the only Color ID app either. Oh God, sorry. And if you are thinking about adaptation software, things like magnifying software, um, Windows 7 and up seems to have some pretty good adaptations. If you don't mind it, then there's the high contrast, or the black background with the white lettering is available. Windows Magnifier I have used in a work environment before, and I was quite happy with it. I found it quite helpful. There's also quite a few adaptation programs through open source, so that's definitely worth looking into if you want to go that way. I think my biggest piece of advice as far as adaptations are concerned, especially if you're a parent, is, you know, definitely try a bunch of things, but accept that some of the things, although they look helpful, aren't necessarily going to be, and if there's a way to try it out and not have to commit to it, but to just try it and see whether or not it's very actually useful. For instance, the whiteboard thing. I didn't know that in a long-term sense, especially when I tried it in an environment with pot lights. You know, the ones in the ceiling, not like for pot. But because I hadn't tried it in an environment with fluorescent lighting, I did not know how that was gonna beam back at me. That is crazy. It was like looking at a wall of white, and it hurt. It hurt my poor little eyes. And it definitely generated a lot more eye strain headaches than I needed to deal with. I understand that they're better and everything, and if they're already in there, then, you know what, whatever, that's fine. But, you know, if you have somebody entering that kind of environment, you just need to accept that they're gonna have more eye strain headaches. That's not gonna say that if you remove that, they're not gonna have any. So also, don't mess with things. When you also make those adaptations, it can be quite difficult on the kid who has to go through them, because you might think that you're being a super helpful parent by being super, super involved all the time. But you're not the one that has to live through that bullying. So just remember that. Just always remember that balance. Because the more you are there, the more that is a thing. That is a point of conflict. And accept that your kids are going to be bullied. And don't assume that it's just because they are a person with a disability. They're probably not getting picked on because they're a person with a disability. They're probably getting picked on because kids are kids. Obviously, if the bullying gets very extreme, then, whatever, then you should, yeah, definitely step in. But ultimately, kids do need to work that out themselves. And if you're constantly stepping in, it's not going to help. I mean, ultimately, it's a scary statistic that it's only a percentage of people with severe visual disabilities make a living wage. And for the most part, from what I've seen, the people who manage it are people who have kind of made their own space in the world. My inability to work in an office environment has nothing to do with my inability to work in an office environment, more so to do with the fact that there are still a lot of places where people get very nervous because they always want to make sure that they're putting forward the best adaptation possible. And ultimately, it can be a very large headache because some people will be like, yeah, we need to make, this and this and this adaptation. Then there might be something else, maybe not. It's very waffly. If you can walk into a job interview and say, this is the issue that I have, this is how we would work out this issue, let's get on with it. When you have those tools in place, you know what to do, then you don't have to worry about it, I don't think. But I mean, ultimately, companies are always going to be a bit nervous because adaptation software, if they're not using open source, that's the other thing. Some companies aren't willing or aren't able to just use open source. The adaptation software, because it's so specialized, because it's not bought by a lot of people, is very expensive. One company I worked for briefly told me that the package was about $5,000. So it was a lot. It was a lot. We didn't, it can be difficult because sometimes proprietary software won't be able to be adjusted in the right way. Thankfully, I think Windows has definitely gotten a bit better about having those inborn adaptations. I think I'm just talking in circles now. I don't know that I'm giving you any helpful points at this point. So what I'll say is, if there's anything further you'd like me to discuss on any of those points, please, by all means, just let me know, and we can certainly talk about that. I've had a chance to be in contact with a few people now since that video came out. So hopefully this is a nice carry-on for you guys. I think that the takeaway message is there's a lot of things to help out there, but really don't assume that you have to go for the expensive options. And also, in this particular case, if you have the ability to get to a school of ophthalmology, if that's anywhere around you, definitely I would see about getting in contact and seeing if you or your child or whoever has it can get in there. It's a wonderful teaching opportunity for those guys that are going through it. And the other thing is they have all of the equipment. So personally, I like to stay in contact with an ophthalmologist because I don't want to lose what I have. And I would really prefer if somebody who really knew what they were doing had a look every once in a while. The other thing is, if there's any new potential adaptations to be tried, they are going to have all of that equipment so that you can test drive it. your local Institute for the Blind. Like we have the CNIB here in Canada, so the Canadian National Institute for the Blind. All their offices have like a shop where you can check stuff out and you can see an occupational therapist and get an assessment done. Um, I've had more than a few of those done over the years, and the things that the occupational therapist recommended were just ridiculous. Like, it doesn't even have to do with pride as to why I wouldn't use them. It's just lazy. I'm not going to use a big ass document reader because that's a lot of work. That's a lot of work. God. It's so heavy. And they're expensive. I don't I've had it recommended that I don't read anything except large print books. That bookshelf is totally full of normal size print. If I can show you. Wait. Yep. Okay. Bookshelf, totally full, normal size print. Bookshelf, totally full, normal size print, and also tabletop gaming manuals and video games. Also, video games are really great to make you feel better about your visual acuity. And on that note, I have a couple of things to take care of, and then I think I'm going to go play Thief. Video games. They're the great leveler. I'm not good at sports. Not good at sports. Again, probably has nothing to do with my eyes so much as I am my mother's daughter and I fall down on flat surfaces. Not a vision thing. No, no, no. Some people are just clumsy. I could go on for hours. I feel like this video is ridiculously long. If there's been anything you've been able to glean, like I said, comments, questions, whatever, message me. I'm leaving my professional email down below if you don't feel comfortable commenting. And I think I'm going to continue on with this series. So I'm going to look through the questions that I've had, and I mean, really any question about this, anything you got, let's just get all that shit out there. I think next time I will talk about mobility. We'll have a little discussion about that, because that's a tough one, and I feel like that'll take a while to discuss in a way that I think will be achievable also not achievable, that's not right. Accessible for fully sighted people. I kind of need some time to sort of put that together, because that's difficult to describe to fully sighted people, because they don't get it, and they try and explain their side of it to me, and I don't get it. It's kind of lost in translation there. Yeah. Anyway, thanks so much for watching, and if you're seeing this anytime around Christmas of 2014, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, whatever the greeting is for Kwanzaa. I think we're well past Ramadan. Happy whatever random extra holiday you are celebrating. Bye.